wheeled toward him, pawed the ground again, and got ready to charge. I thought about he had squeezed the life out of my mother, made her disappear in a flash of light, and rage filled me like high-octane fuel, so like gasoline. I got both hands around one horn and I pulled backward with all my might. The monster tensed, gave a surprised grunt, and then snap. The bullman screamed and flung me through the air. I landed flat on my back in the grass. My head smacked against a rock. When I sat up, my vision was blurry, but I had a horn in my hands. A raged bone weapon the size of a knife. The monster charged, and without thinking, I rolled to one side and I came up kneeling as the monster barreled past. I drove the broken horn straight onto his side, right under his furry ribs. The bullman roared in agony. He flailed, clawing at his chest, and then began to disintegrate. Not like my mother, in a flash of golden light, but like crumbling sand, blown away in chunks by the wind, the same way Mrs. Dodds had burst apart. The monster was gone. The rain had stopped. The storm still rumbled, but only in the distance. I smelled like livestock, so like cows in a farm. Like livestock, and my knees were shaking. My head felt like it was splitting open. I was weak and scared and trembling with grief. I'd just seen my mother vanish. I wanted to lie down and cry, but there was Grover needing my help, so I managed to haul him up and stagger down into the valley toward the lights of the farmhouse. I was crying, calling for my mother, but I held on to Grover. I wasn't going to let him go. The last thing I remember is collapsing on a wooden porch, looking up at the ceiling fan circling above me, moths flying around a yellow light, and the stern face of a familiar-looking bearded man and a pretty girl, her blonde hair curled like a princess's. They both looked down at me, and the girl said, "He's the one. He must be." "Silence, Annabeth," the man said. "He's still conscious. Bring him inside." And that's the end of that chapter. We still have time for maybe half a chapter more. This is chapter 5, and it's called I Play Pinochle with a Horse. I had weird dreams full of barnyard animals. Most of them wanted to kill me. The rest wanted food. So do you remember the last chapter? There was a half-bull man who wanted to kill him, and there was a half-goat man who, after he got hurt, he only asked for food. So in his dreams, he said that he was full of barnyard animal. Some of them wanted to kill him, and some of them wanted food. I must have woken up several times, but what I heard and saw made no sense, so I just passed out again. I remember lying in a soft bed, being spoon-fed something that tasted like buttered popcorn, only it was pudding. The girl with the curly blonde hair hovered up over me, smirking as she scraped drips of my chin with the spoon. When she saw my eyes open, she asked, "What will happen at the summer solstice?" I managed to croak, "What?" She looked around as if afraid someone would have overheard. "What's going on? What was stolen? We've only got a few weeks." "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "I don't." Somebody knocked on the door, and the girl quickly filled my mouth with pudding. Next time I woke up, the girl was gone. A husky blonde dude, like a surfer, stood in the corner of the bedroom keeping watch over me. He had blue eyes, at least a dozen of them, on his cheeks, his foreheads, and the back of his hands. When I finally came around for good, there was nothing weird about my surrounding, except that they were nicer than I was used to. I was sitting in a deck chair on a huge porch, gazing around a meadow at green hills in the distance. The breeze smelled like strawberries. There was a blanket over my legs, a pillow behind my neck. All that was great, but my mouth felt like a scorpion had been using it for a nest. My tongue was dry and nasty, and every one of my teeth hurt. On the table next to me was a drink. It looked like iced apple juice with a green straw, and a paper parasol stuck through a maraschino cherry. So there was one of those umbrellas that sometimes they put on drinks with a cherry. So looked like apple juice with ice and then a maraschino cherry with a little umbrella stuck. My hands were so weak I almost dropped the glass once I got my fingers around it. Careful, said a familiar voice. Grover was leaning against the porch railing, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. Under one arm he cradled a shoebox. He was wearing blue jeans, Converse high tops, and a bright orange t-shirt that said Camp Half-Blood. Just plain old Grover, not the goat boy. So maybe I'd had a nightmare. Maybe my mom was okay. We were still on vacation and we'd stop here at this big farmhouse for some reason and you saved my life, Grover said. Well, the least I could do. I went back to the hill. I thought you might want this. Reverently, he placed the shoebox in my lap. Inside was a black and white bull's horn, the base jagged from being broken off, and the tip splattered with dry blood. It hadn't been a nightmare. The Minotaur, I said. Percy, it isn't a good idea. That's what they call him in the Greek myths, isn't it? I demanded. The Minotaur, half man, half bull. Grover shifted uncomfortably. You've been out for 2 days. How much do you remember? My mom, is she really? He looked down. I stared across the meadow. There were groves of trees, a winding stream, acres of strawberries spread out under the blue sky. The valley was surrounded by rolling hills, and the tallest one directly in front of us was the one with the huge pine tree on top. Even that looked beautiful in the sunlight. My mother was gone. The whole world should be black and cold. Nothing should look beautiful. I'm sorry, Grover sniffled. I'm a failure. I'm the worst satire in the world. He moaned, stomping his foot so hard it came off. The Converse high top came off. The inside was filled with styrofoam, except for a hoof-shaped hole. Oh, sticks, he mumbled. Thunder rolled across the clear sky. You guys are listening to Polito play with one of his toys. Thunder rolled across the clear sky as he struggled to get his hoof back in the fake foot. I thought, well, that settles it. Grover was a satire. I was ready to bet that if I shaved his curly brown hair, I'd find tiny horns on his head. But I was too miserable to care that satires existed, or even minotaurs. All that meant that my mom really had been squeezed into nothingness, dissolved into a yellow light. I was alone, an orphan. I would have to live with... Smelly, Gabe? No, that would never happen. I would live on the streets first. I would pretend I was 17 and join the army. I'd do something. Grover was still sniffling. The poor kid, poor goat, satire, whatever, looked as if he expected to be hit. I said, it wasn't your fault. Yes, it was. I'm supposed to protect you. Did my mother ask you to protect me? No, but that's my job. I'm a keeper. At least, I was. But why? I suddenly felt dizzy, my vision swimming. Don't strain yourself, Grover said. Here. He helped me hold my glass and put the straw in my lips. I recoiled at the taste because I was expecting apple juice. It wasn't that at all. It was chocolate chip cookies, liquid cookies, and not just any cookies. My mom homemade blue chocolate chip cookies, buttery and hot, with the chips still melting. Drinking it, my whole body felt warm and good, and full of energy. My grief didn't go away, but I felt as if my mom had just brushed her hand against my cheek, given me a cookie, the same way she used to when I was small, and told me everything was going to be okay. Before I knew it, I drained the glass. I stared into it. Sure, I just had a warm drink, but the ice cubes hadn't even melted. Was it good? Grover asked. I nodded. What did it taste like? He sounded so wistful, I felt guilty. Sorry, I said. I should have let you taste. His eyes got wide. No, 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 that's not what I meant. I just wondered. Chocolate chip cookies, I said. My mom. My mom's. Homemade. He sighed. And how do you feel? Like I could throw Nancy Bobofit 100 yards. 100 yards. That's good, he said. That's good. I don't think you could risk drinking any more of that stuff. What do you mean? He took the empty glass from me gingerly, as if it were dynamite. He set it back on the table. Come on. Chiron and Mr. D are waiting. And that's all we have time for today. Okay, so I'm going to be doing real louds more frequently. Tune in for them. Bye, guys.